Leaching acorn flour can be one of the most difficult steps on the road to making acorn bread. But with a few tips, this process can be much easier, faster, and a lot less frustrating. This is part 3 of the Acorn Bread series. We are starting off with acorns off the ground and eventually turning them into acorn bread. The reason that we need to leach our acorns is because they contain tannins. Tannins are bitter and astringent water-soluble plant chemicals. More importantly, they are not good for you if consumed in excess, but also they will ruin the taste of our acorn bread. So, if you want healthy, delicious bread and not unhealthy, bitter bread, do not skip leaching. If you find yourself liking the video, please hit the like button. It really makes a difference and supports the channel a lot. There are 2 main methods of leaching, hot and cold leaching. While hot leaching can be faster, it is much more energy intensive and results in an acorn flour that is not ideal for baking into bread. So this video will utilize the cold leaching method. The first step in leaching is grinding our whole acorns into flour. We need our acorns in this form for bread, but additionally it increases the surface area of our acorns, which will result in tannins being pulled out of the acorns much faster. You do not need a high-powered blender or specialized equipment to do this if you use the following trick. Grind your acorns in water. Since the acorns are about to go into water anyway, why not just get that out of the way and make grinding much easier? We will soak the dried acorn meat for about half an hour so that it gets soft and wet, and thus easier to grind. Next, put them in the blender with plenty of water and blend until the flour is very fine. Once you have ground a batch, set it aside in a container and continue to grind the rest until you've gone through all the acorns that you want to make for this round of leaching. With our acorn flour in the water, we have already begun the process of leaching. And while it takes a little bit of time, the overall steps are relatively simple. We're going to add water to our ground acorn flour, as much as the container that we're putting it in will hold. Then let it settle down. You'll see the acorn flour and the water separate. Next, pour off the water on top, taking care to not pour out any of the flour. Fill the container back up with water and stir thoroughly. Let it settle again and repeat the whole process. Typically, I will do this 1 to 2 times per day. So how long do you let your acorns leach for? Until they're done. Every batch will be a little bit different, and there are several factors that can affect leaching time. So instead of giving you a set time, I'm going to show you how to know when it is done. There are 2 main indicators that we are looking for. Number 1, at the beginning of the process, you'll notice that the color of the water is very yellow and cloudy. As it gets closer to completion, it will start to turn red in hue and be much clearer. Number 2, since we know that tannins are bitter and astringent, we can use taste as a high-fidelity detector for the presence of tannins. To test, take some of the flour out of the water and taste it. If it's still bitter or makes your mouth dry, it's not done leaching yet. Continue until it no longer produces this effect. Not too bad. Good to go. Once it has fully leached, it is ready for drying. I use a dehydrator to thoroughly dry my acorn flour. You could use sun drying, but I find a dehydrator much more consistent and easier to use. There is nothing worse than losing a whole batch of fully processed acorn flour to mold. Before putting the flour in the dehydrator, I want to get it as dry as possible. I achieve this by pouring the flour and water into a fine cotton rag, something that's not going to let any of the flour through. Then, I wring it out as tight as possible. I remove the flour and place it in the dehydrator on a silicone pad. Put the dehydrator on the lowest heat setting and leave it until it is completely bone dry. The flour is now ready for an array of recipes, but for bread, I like to add one final step before storing. I pass the flour through a fine mesh strainer, so only small particles get to the other side. Then I take the bits that were too large and put them back through the blender and repeat the process until all the flour is fine enough to pass through. Finally, I take it out, I put it in a jar and cover that to be stored. And with that, we have completely processed and ready to use acorn flour. Give yourself a pat on the back because you have made it a very long way and you are so close to the end of your journey of making acorn bread. So stay tuned because that is coming up next.